Now, I am going to be examining curriculum models, the principles, and the approaches as part of our Unit 1 with you. Now, various theorists have proposed different models to curriculum development, and even in your reading, you might have come across several of those models, such as the creative curriculum, the early recognition intervention network model, the high scope preschool approach, the Montessori model, the project approach, the team-based model, and the Reggio Emilia model. So those are some of the models that you have in this Unit 1. However, I am going to be introducing you to different approaches outside of those here in Unit 1. You have a plethora of other curriculum models, and the three that I am going to be focusing on tonight is Tyler's rational linear approach as the first model. Now, Tyler's framework for curriculum development was known as the Tyler's rational model, and it was developed in 1949 by Ralph Tyler as presented by Marsh and Wills, 2003. Now, Tyler's framework incorporated 4 questions. These include: 1. What educational purposes should the school seek to attain as it relates to curriculum? And he outlined some sources in terms of it. 1. Studies of the learners themselves. 2. Studies of contemporary life outside of the school. 3. Suggestions about objectives from subject specialists. Also, the use of philosophy in selecting objectives, the use of psychology of learning in selecting objectives, and also stating objectives in a form to be helpful in selecting learning experiences and in guiding teaching. The second question that Tyler focused on was: how can learning experiences be selected that are likely to be useful in attaining these objectives? Again, he emphasized general principles in selecting learning experiences. The third question that Tyler explored was: how can learning experiences be organized for effective instruction? And he made note that: 1. We need to have criteria for effective organization, elements to be organized, organizing principles, and the organizing structure itself. And the last question: how can the effectiveness of learning experiences be evaluated? Again, he made note of basic notions regarding evaluation and evaluation procedures. Therefore, as educators and as facilitators, you have to know how you are going to actually evaluate the content of the curriculum. When the curriculum is developed, it's broad and it's generic. And as educators, sometimes you have to make modifications to the existing content of the curriculum in order to meet the needs of your learners. And especially at the early years, where the children, they are still in their developmental stages, they are very enthusiastic, you as the facilitator have to ensure that you create an environment that is stimulating and is conducive for learning. You also have to be cognizant of the fact that when you're evaluating the learners, you might have to use more than one approach. You might have to use both formative and summative, where formative evaluation is ongoing evaluation, while summative is at the end. So that's one of the first approaches to curriculum development, and it is known as Tyler's linear approach. The second approach that I want to introduce you to is known as Walker's deliberative approach. And Walker's model was known as the naturalistic model, where he outlined 3 steps. The first step, known as the platform or the beginning, include conception or the belief of what should be in the curriculum, the theories, the aims, the images, and the procedures. Those constitute Walker's first step, known as platform or the beginning. The second part of Walker's naturalistic model was the deliberation or the process, and this includes, you choose the most appropriate material, you consider consequences of alternatives, you generate alternatives and consider the precedent, and also you need to identify which facts are needed for a means and for ends. And the final process in Walker's naturalistic model is the end, and this is known as the design, where the set of relationships embodied in the material in use. So therefore, Walker's naturalistic model really is a 3-step model, where you have the beginning, which is the platform, the process, known as the deliberation, and the end, the design. So you have done Tyler's linear model, and you have looked at Walker's naturalistic model developed in 1971. Now, the next approach to curriculum development was published and widely used since the 1960s, and this is Essner's artistic approach. And Essner's artistic approach includes 7 components. The first is goals and their priorities as it relates to developing the curriculum. The need to consider less well-defined objectives or expressive objectives as well as explicit ones, and there's also the need for deliberation and talking through priorities. So this artistic approach emphasizes goals and their priorities. The second component of the artistic approach is the content of the curriculum. Options to consider in selecting curriculum and the caveat about the null curriculum. What is it that you want to be in this curriculum? What you don't want in the curriculum? The next step is types of learning opportunities. The emphasis on transforming goals and content into learning events that will be significant to students. So therefore, as a teacher, as a facilitator, you have to ensure that you so develop and you so execute the lesson or lessons that they are meaningful to the students. And the students must at all times be actively engaged, and especially at the early childhood level, where you know that their motor skills are still in its developmental stages. It is imperative that you provide them with activities that will not only sharpen their minds and develop critical thinking, but also to develop the motor skills. The next step in artistic approach, according to Essner, is the organization of learning opportunities. Hence, emphasis on a non-linear approach in order to encourage diverse student outcomes. Again, on an average you will see students of mixed ability, and therefore it is important that you try and include and incorporate those student experiences in the lesson. Give them time to share their ideas, give them time to talk, give them time to play, give them time to share their favorite game. Right? It's all about the learning and the developmental process. The next is organization of content era. Emphasis on cross-curricular organization of content, and again this lends itself to integration, whether you are using the thematic approach or some other form of integrated methods. You have to ensure that the students are given an opportunity to make connection with the different subject areas. So therefore curriculum alignment and curriculum integration is of paramount importance, and as a teacher you have to ensure that you promote that. Next, the mode of presentation and mode of response. Use a number of modalities. Sometimes children tend to get bored when you use the same approach to delivering the lesson. If you are going to be using a song, make it a creative song, but avoid using too many songs to introduce your lesson. Like you might use a game, you might use a scenario, you might want to brainstorm them. Give them a surprise. Give them a surprise. Your lesson should not be too predictable. Right? And once your lessons are not too predictable, then it will arouse students' curiosity, because they will say, okay, what is going to come next? What's going to happen? And with that level of enthusiasm, they are going to want to participate even more. And again, the final step in excellent artistic approach is the types of evaluation procedures. Again, as facilitators, as teachers, you have to determine which assessment technique you are going to use to evaluate your students to see if learning has taken place. It might be open task or closed task. It might be a game, it might be a song, it might be just a letter that they will have to write, but it's important that whichever assessment technique you use, it is applicable, it is feasible, and it is providing you with the feedback that you need. And hence, when you are planning your lessons, you should ensure that you have formative and summative evaluative instruments, because the formative is ongoing, and once you can assess the students continuously, then you realize that you are able to make changes as you go along. So those are three alternative approaches to curriculum development. You have external artistic approach, you have Tyler's linear approach, and you have Walker's naturalistic model. Walker's naturalistic model, as I pointed out earlier, has three steps: the beginning, the process, and the end, where the beginning is the platform, the process, deliberation, end is the design. Tyler's rational approach emphasizes four basic questions as it relates to curriculum. 1. What educational purposes should the school seek to attain? 2. How can learning experiences be selected that are likely to be useful in attaining these objectives? 3. How can learning experiences be organized for effective instruction? And 4. How can the effectiveness of learning experiences be evaluated? And as I pointed out earlier, there are multiple approaches to the curriculum development, but as educators, you have to be cognizant of the fact that your students learn differently, and you sense that one size would not fit all, and therefore you have to make changes to the document, you have to make modifications to suit the need of your learners. because the objective should not be to complete the curriculum, but to ensure that it is benefiting the student. And over the years, sometimes there are some educators who are in a rush to complete the curriculum, and the students are not really grasping the concept. And therefore, as you engage each other in this course, it is my understanding and my wish that you will learn from each other, right? And we continue to share ideas as it relates to the field of curriculum development and assessment in the early years. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope this information is of benefit to you. Also, I want to encourage you to go and research, do more research, find out more about the curriculum models, develop a better understanding of them so that they can help you and they can guide you in terms of the planning of your lessons and how to cater for the different learning styles of your students. So once again, thank you very much for listening.